and welcome to Clutter Free Blueprint, finding time and energy to declutter so you can focus on what truly matters. My name is Deanna Yates, and I am the busy mama behind Wannabe Clutter Free. I've worked with hundreds of women, and I know one of the biggest frustrations when it comes to decluttering and organizing your home is actually finding the time and energy to get it done, right? So while I will give you my favorite steps for decluttering, we're also going to be shifting your mindset when it comes to that clutter in the first place and focusing on the ever important time and energy factor. After all, what good does it do us to know how to declutter if we never have the capacity to make it happen? So it's a lot to cover in 30 minutes, but I am a woman of action. So get ready. This is going to be a fun session. My promise to you today is that you can put whatever we learn in the next 30 minutes into practice right away. We're actually going to even be doing some activities on this call in this session. So you will be able to make progress right now. It's not something you're going to have to do later. You're going to be able to do it right now. So you don't have to add things to your to-do list. I don't want that for you. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to learn how to increase your confidence when it comes to decluttering your stuff. I know there's a lot of decisions to be made. Decluttering can be a really tough emotional minefield, and I'm not going to beat around the bush and tell you that it's easy. The steps are simple, but they are not easy. However, the secret is how you look at decluttering. So when you fill up your cup with the right priorities and say yes to a few select things, it will help build up your confidence, and we can take that confidence with us when we declutter, and it makes the whole process just click. For a really fun demonstration to show you to make this make sense. And next, we're going to look at your time to find the hidden pockets that you actually have in your busy schedule. Now, I don't know a woman with extra time on their hands. And when you don't have extra time, it's hard to say, yay, let's declutter. So I totally get it, right? I am very optimistic, but I am a realist. So that's why I'm going to show you a tried and true process for decluttering and making a ton of progress in less time than it takes to drive through for Starbucks. Sound good? Yeah. And then we're going to talk about how to start calming the chaos so that you can boost your energy and give you the boost that you need to really make those dreams a reality. So I hear all the time about how chaotic home feels. You're getting pulled in a million different directions at once, and you have this running to-do list going on in your head, right? It never seems to get shorter. So today I'm going to give you a plan to carve out peace for yourself, and it will spill over into the rest of your life. Plus, we're going to be turning your phone into your ally. We're going to make it work for you instead of it being the temptress of your time and a weakness or bad habit that you have to avoid. So before we get into all that good stuff, I just want to take a quick moment and let you know who I am, because after all, why should you trust me to walk you through this? Well, I am the host of the popular podcast, Wannabe Clutter Free, formerly Wannabe Minimalist, if you've heard of that show. It has been downloaded over 1.5 million times, and I have turned helping women get clutter-free into my career. I am continuously honored that I get to help people from all over the world because I know what it's like to live with too much stuff and how freeing it is to be on the other side, living clutter-free. And that is what I want for you. Now, you see, when our daughter was born, yes, this is her in the hospital, something in me clicked. If you are a parent, you know what I mean when I say that in that instant, my life changed. I had been struggling to manage my home, and I didn't want to burden her with my overwhelm and my stuff and my stress and all of that. I didn't want that spilling over into my motherhood. Skipped a step there. But this is my childhood home. So looking at this picture, it's not surprising to see that I didn't have systems in place to manage the inflow or to keep up with that stuff we already had. However, because this was normal life, I didn't understand that there were other ways to do things, right? I never understood it was a problem until I was an adult. I was older, I was living on my own, and I was struggling to manage my own home. I didn't know how to deal with the stuff. Now, fast forward a couple decades to our wedding. This was one of the best days of my life, and it was followed 3 months later by one of the worst. So my father-in-law, who is in this picture, actually passed away from complications with melanoma, and it was shockingly fast. We as a family were left kind of scrambling and facing that decision of what do you do with the lifetime of someone's belongings, right? Yeah. How do we handle this? What do we do with all this stuff? What was meaningful? What wasn't meaningful? You know? And at this point, I now understood, my new husband and I understood all too well that life is short. We didn't want to waste it on stuff that didn't matter. So, the week after our daughter turned 1, we actually set out to travel as a family. Now, I know you are here to learn about decluttering, and jetting off to Europe isn't the kind of solution that you were hoping to hear. And honestly, I'm not even going to tell you to do that because, yes, while that trip was amazing, it still was stressful, super stressful, in fact. I mean, it's tough enough to be a new parent, but then you add on like that lack of community. We had nobody to fall back on, right? It was just the three of us traveling. And so we kind of figured out that maybe that wasn't the best idea and we needed to figure out the solution. And then before that trip, we had sold 90% of our belongings to be able to afford it. And all that we had left fit in this box, this 5 foot by 8 foot storage box. I would love to say that it was all roses and that my path was linear. I went from having too much stuff to barely any stuff, and poof, like magic, crystallized and the seas parted. And all I had was one more lesson to learn. That was not how it worked. We returned to the States, we bought a house, it started to fill up with stuff. Our generous friends and family, they poured love into us. They helped us furnish it because we had gone from that small trailer to a 3-bedroom home. So clearly we needed stuff. But the next part is what you're probably going to relate to. I was overwhelmed by it all, right? I had gone from a life where I really had too much stuff, sold it all, and now I was back in this life of too much stuff. But I found the secret, and I feel so lucky that I was actually able to have these two very different realities back to back, because what I discovered was that it was never the stuff in our lives that made us happy. And it wasn't running away from that stuff and having no stuff that made us happy. It was actually that stuff is a tool. Stuff is a tool to be used and enjoyed. It's when we forget that. It's when we forget that we have to have processes to handle the stuff coming in. When we forget and we put stuff on a pedestal and thinking it holds all of our memories, or we give into the latest trends and deep down we don't love them, but it's like, everybody else has white walls, or everybody else is living like a maximalist. I guess that's what I need in order to be happy, right? That's when we start to feel overwhelmed, tired, defeated. We become managers of our stuff. We forget that life is meant to be lived. We just let stuff take over and we give up our agency. We give up control and we think we have no way of making it work for us. That is not true. And that is why I am so passionate about clutter-free living, because being clutter-free is more than just letting go of your physical stuff. It's about finding freedom. And with that freedom comes peace, clarity, calm, the ability for you to focus on the big things, those things that actually matter to you at the end of the day. Things like your family, your friendships, your personal growth, your peace of mind. That is what matters. Stuff can help you with those things. It can also hinder you from achieving those things. And so let's get to the good stuff. How do you get a clutter-free home and life? There are 3 elements we are going to be talking about today, and we are going to be covering all 3 of them: mindset, time, and energy. So let's start with mindset. The first question I want us to think about today is, how can we be confident in the items we declutter and let our big dreams take hold? I mean, if I offered you $1 million to completely declutter your home, you could do it, right? I know you could. So the act of decluttering is not the thing that's holding you back. The bigger problem is how most people look at decluttering. They look at it as letting go, getting rid of, giving up something. These phrases have negative connotations, and as humans, we do not like to lose things or give them up. Our brain has not caught up from our cave people days when resources were scarce. Having something back then could mean the difference between life and death. Nowadays, we just hop in the car and run to the corner store, or we click a few buttons on our phone and Amazon will deliver it to our door the next day. It's crazy. So resources are not scarce for us anymore, okay? That means we don't have to cling to all of these things. So instead of looking at our things and thinking about what we quote unquote need or should get rid of, right? We don't want to look at what we're getting rid of. Decluttering is much easier when we focus on what to keep. And this brings me to a really fun demonstration. Okay, so this demonstration is really cool. I want us to look at this cup as our homes, our lives, our homes, right? It's nice and clear. This is where we live. This is kind of how we start. Unfortunately, what happens is as we start to fill up our home, this is just a bunch of dirt in here, right? We fill up our home with all the things we think we want and we need. And some of them we do actually need, right? We need beds to sleep in and we need dressers to put our clothes in. Maybe we definitely need places to put our clothes. We need different things. We want books. We want our TVs. We want all of those things, right? But what happens is, can you see this? So that water went from being clear to now it's kind of stressing us out. This is overwhelm. This is stress. This is all that stuff. It's kind of making us a little crazy. Now, when we are decluttering by just thinking about what we want to get rid of, right? So let's go in here. We'll get rid of it. We're going to start to get rid of all these little things. Okay. I don't need this. I do a declutter challenge. I get rid of this. All right. I'm trying. But no matter what, just focusing on what to get rid of doesn't feel great. And it's still cloudy and murky. And yeah, some of it got a little bit better, but it's still cloudy and murky. So instead of focusing on what to get rid of, I want us to focus on what we keep. This picture represents the dreams that we have for our life, this crystal blue life that we want, what we want our house to look like, what we want it to feel like, how we want to feel in it, how we want to be living our everyday life, okay? So what happens is when we start to focus, and I'm going to stand up so you can see this, when we start to focus on these big dreams and we pour them into our house, instead of focusing on that little stuff to get rid of and just decluttering all the little bits and pieces as we go, you can start to see that our dream life starts to take over. And instead of having that overwhelming, dark, murky water, we get this beautiful, crystal clear blue water. And we can start to live those dreams. And you'll notice there's a few big things still floating around in there. But at that point, you can zero in and say, you know what? This isn't working for me. I'm going to reevaluate and see what does work. I'm going to get rid of this guy. I need to start saying no to this thing because it's not really part of my vision. And that way, it's so much easier to focus on the life you want to be living instead of getting rid of the stuff, because it's more than just our physical stuff. It's our emotions. It's our mental well-being. It's all of that. It's who we want to be and how we want to be in the world and how we want to show up for ourselves and the other people in our lives. All right, so I love this demonstration. I will keep this here so we can refer back to it later on in the presentation. Wasn't that demonstration great? I love that part. And it's just so mind-blowing to see how when we focus on the good, we can see more of the good. So the trick is to focus on what to keep. That way you don't have to get bogged down on how many of each item you should keep, if you should keep something, if you shouldn't. Instead, it's about thinking about who you want to become and living into that life through your habits and your actions. All right, so let's move on to element number 2 and talk about time. I know we just chatted about how to be more confident in your decluttering, but that decluttering process still needs to happen. So how can we actually stretch the time we have in our already super busy schedules and make the decluttering process faster? So I love this quote, time is elastic. It stretches to accommodate what we choose to put into it. And it's from Laura Vanderkam's book, Off the Clock. I want us to change how we see time. This quote kind of forces you to really look in the mirror and understand that there is elasticity to our time, right? I'm not saying that you don't have obligations and things that take up your time, but often when we take an honest look at our calendars, we can find time that we are frittering away. Or if your child gets sick, you make the time, right? You clear the schedule to take care of them, right? So this, I think, is what it means. Like when time is elastic, When things come up that we absolutely have to deal with or that mean the most to us, we are able to make those changes. And so that leads me to an activity I would like you to do with me right now. So it's time to make our phones work for us. So remember at the beginning, I said we were going to make our phone our ally instead of our temptress of time and procrastination. This is it. So it all starts with knowledge. So grab your phone while I'm talking about this next part. So just grab your phone. I know you have it nearby. I do too. And it all starts with knowledge. So knowledge is power. And once we know how we are using our time, we can make the change that will pay dividends to our daily lives, but even more to our future selves. All right, so the activity I want us to do today will help us find our time hogs. We all have them. So please do not feel guilty when you go through this if you feel surprised by what you see here today, okay? This is about empowerment, not about guilt. So in full disclosure, I have an iPhone, so I am more familiar with that. So I'm not as familiar with an Android. So for keeping this presentation within the time limit, I'm only going to be focusing on the iPhone as an example. So if you have an Android and need help, please feel free to reach out to me after the presentation. We're going to use screen time on your iPhone or digital well-being on your Android device to see where you are spending your time each day. All right, so grab your phone because here we go. You are going to go to settings and then screen time. And so this is an example of what the screen time app looks like. It's going to show you your daily average and your activity for the current week, okay? So again, settings, go to the gear icon, click on screen time. I think it's the fourth one down, and you're going to get this screen here. Now, if you have it turned on, it's going to show you the average from each week to the next. So it's going to show you if you've spent more time on your phone or less time on your phone. But the more interesting stuff is when you click the link that's pointing to here under that blue bar graph that says see all activity. And here's what that looks like. It's going to show you a list of where you are spending your time on your phone. So a breakdown of that 5.5 hours on this example is shown here in the list of apps below. So if you are seeing this list for the first time, you might be shocked. I know I was completely shocked, and it revamped how I use my phone. So are you surprised by what you see here? Take a good look. What are some of your biggest time hogs? Now, the one I see, of course, the most often is social media. So you are not alone if that is your number one. Now, I'm not going to say that I never look at social media. Of course I do. But my biggest time hog was Reddit. So I deleted the app and I set up limits for how much time I can spend there. I feel better. And I know that I have way better things to do with my time than doom scroll. So now some of these things that you're seeing on your list might be totally legit, and they might be things that you have to do. For example, if you run a business like I do, you're going to need social media for marketing. But be honest with yourself. Is all the time that you're spending there on your business? Even if some of it is for pleasure, are there areas you can cut back? Now, I love to listen to a lot of audiobooks and podcasts. I'm a podcaster. These are great, but sometimes they can take up way too much of my time and pull me away from creating my own things. So these are the questions I want you to be asking yourself. Are they actually adding and making a benefit to my life, or is it just kind of a hindrance? Now, I love being able to check screen time now and use it as a gauge to see where I am. It allows me to cut back before it becomes a bigger problem. So how can this help with decluttering, right? Well, most people think decluttering is a full day event. We think it has to be difficult, that it has to take forever. But the truth is that if we are systematic, you can actually declutter more effectively in short sprints. Instead of burnout and being overwhelmed, you can completely transform your home in just 15 minutes a day. Enter my favorite decluttering method, the 15-minute declutter method. Here is how it works. There are 5 steps that I'm going to walk you through each one by one. Step 1 is to choose one space to focus on. Now, we need to keep it small because we are only spending 15 minutes on this. And that means I want you to focus on one drawer, one shelf, or one category of things like pens or magazines. I want you to start smaller than you think, especially if you are new to this. If you've never done this method before or you are new to decluttering, please start small. You can always add on more things, but it is way harder to take away or not feel defeated if you don't finish in the 15 minutes, okay? So please choose one small thing to declutter. Step 2 is to set a timer for 15 minutes. Now, here is another area where we can use our phones to our advantage, right? Just set the timer on your phone and let it be your ally. When we set a timer, our brains automatically go into game mode. They want to win. And we can use this to focus our mind on the task at hand and tackle your space. Step number 3 is to commit to making a decision. Now, I already showed you that choosing what to keep in a space is way more powerful than deciding what to get rid of. So every time you pick up an item that in the space that you are decluttering, I want you to ask if it fits the vision of your dream life and space. If it fits your future vision, great, keep it. If it doesn't, ask yourself if you use it regularly. If you're not, then, and it doesn't fit the vision of your dream life, there is no reason to keep it. You don't want to be that person. That's not who you were trying to be. So let it go. If it fits and if you use it regularly, great, you get to move on to the next step. But focusing on our ideal version of the space is going to be a really great way to get rid of that just in case clutter that you've been holding on to. So once you decide, you got your thing, you've made a decision on it. Here's what happens. Step 4, you're going to sort into 4 piles. But the trick is, I don't want these on the floor. These have very specific places to go, okay? Pile 1 is your trash. These are things that are not in donatable condition. You don't want them anymore, so they go in the garbage. But they go in a garbage bag. They do not go in a pile on the floor. Put them directly in a trash bag. Pile number 2 is donation. These are things you no longer want or use, but they are in good enough condition to donate. So you're going to put them directly in a box, a cardboard box that you can take and donate with the items. We're not putting it in a pretty bin that you have to rehome things after you've decided to get rid of them, right? This is just down and dirty. Grab that Amazon box. I know you've got it. Pile 3 are things you want to keep, but they don't belong in the space where you are currently decluttering. So for instance, you're decluttering a bookshelf, you find a candle, you love the candle, the scent, you love it, it's wonderful, but you don't really use it on your bookshelf. You would rather have it in your bathroom. Well, go ahead and take that and put it in a laundry basket or another bin, a sturdy bin that you can pick up and carry around your home and put things away at the end of our session. And then pile 4 are the things you want to keep in the space. Ideally, you will keep them on the place or space where you are. If you're doing the bookshelf, they'll stay in the bookshelf. If not, and they need to go on the floor, those are the only things that can go on the floor during this method because you don't want to make a bigger mess. So if you get interrupted, your home isn't messier than it was when you started the process, right? Okay. And the final step is to cross the finish line. And by this, I mean you just take care of those piles that you just created. Trash bag goes right in the big garbage bin. Your donation box is going to go right in your car to drop it off. And the laundry basket, you're going to carry it around your house and rehome items. Then the items that were there, if they're on a shelf or something, if they're on the floor, put those back quickly so that they don't get messier. And then you're done. In just 15 minutes, your home is neater, you're making progress. And if you got interrupted, those 4 containers keep things orderly until you can get back to them. So let's tie it all together, right? Take those 15 extra minutes that you found in your schedule and then carve out the time for a daily 15-minute declutter. And then that leads me to our third element, getting clutter-free. It's your energy. By taking back control of your time, you're going to boost your energy, but let's take it up another step. And I want us to look at where to focus our decluttering efforts so that we can calm the chaos more quickly. You see, most people start decluttering in the wrong place. They start with the big things. There's usually the garage, the basement, or sentimental items. Now, all of these are drains, big drains on your energy, and they don't actually give you much in return. There's no return on investment in these places in your time because when you think about it, you don't actually spend much time in these places. So you think it's going to be this big mental, like, oh, I'm going to feel so great, but you never see the progress you actually made there. And so it doesn't actually help you much on a daily basis. It doesn't give you much back. So the best place to actually start is your bedroom. So why your bedroom? Well, your bedroom is your sanctuary from the outside world. It's where you can find refuge from the chaos and you can refill your cup. You need a place to recharge. And when you are taking on a big project like being clutter-free, that's a big project. So that is why your bedroom is the best place to start. It can also be easier to declutter because it has a clear purpose and fewer hurdles, right? In our bedroom, that's where we rest. We have adult time, we recharge. There might be family cuddles there in the morning, but it has a specific nature, right? The bedroom is an easier place to declutter because it has a specific vision. You could pretty much, it's much easier to say what you want to happen in that room than in some of the other rooms in your house. And it also means there's fewer chances of emotional or sentimental hurdles to overcome. And so you can make progress pretty quickly. But my favorite reason to start in the bedroom is because a clear space leads to a clear mind, which leads to better sleep. And when you are getting better sleep, you are going to feel better the next day. You're going to make better decisions, you're going to have more energy, and you're going to enjoy life more. So here's one more exercise for you to do. I know that if I just sat here and told you, please declutter your bedroom, you are less likely to do it. But if you create a plan, there is a good chance that you're going to follow it. And I am all about action. So let's take the mindset exercise I showed you earlier, where you can focus on what to keep in the space, then the 15-minute declutter method that you just learned, and apply them to your bedroom this week. So here are a few places you could declutter, right? I've kind of listed out just regular bedroom spaces. I want you to kind of write out the spaces you have in your bedroom, like mentally close your eyes, walk through your bedroom. Okay, I walk in, I see my nightstand, I've got my bed. Oh, there's a few things under my bed. Okay, there's my husband's nightstand, but I'm not going to touch his. Then, okay, we have a dresser. Let's not really work on our closet too much. Maybe there's an extra piece of furniture in there. There's a bench, there's a chair, there's a treadmill, right? Maybe there's a desk from post COVID era, like, as we had all moved into our homes to do all of our things. Maybe there's a desk in there that's time to get rid of. So just kind of walk through mentally, list all these places, and then decide which one can I tackle in 15 minutes and start there. Focus your 15 minutes this week on your bedroom, and it will create that space for you to be able to sleep better, for you to have more energy and get ready to tackle your day. I'm so excited for you to try this method. It is a domino effect that will pay dividends big time. So those are the 3 elements to getting clutter-free. We covered a lot in just 30 minutes, but remember, just listening to me and showing up today is not enough. You have to take action. You have to start. The good news is that once that first domino falls, it is much easier to keep it going. But of course, there is more to getting clutter-free. We've made some huge steps forward today, but there is going to be more. We can't just listen to this one presentation and declutter our bedrooms and everything is great. So if you are looking for more help, please come on over to my website, wannabeclutterfree.com, and you can go wannabeclutterfree.com/summit, and I will have special resources there for you to make sure that you are on track as you move forward in your new clutter-free life. Thank you so much for joining me today in this session for the Clutter-Free Blueprint. My name is Deanna Yates, and I hope to see you over in my Wannabe Clutter-Free community or in the podcast, and just continue to help you on your journey to living the best life you can without that clutter holding you back. All right, cheers. Have a wonderful day.